Hey, welcome to Ben Flies RC. Are you looking for your Rotorflight helicopter to have a beginner-friendly stability mode that looks something like this? And it won't let itself go beyond that 30 degrees that we talked about. Well, you've come to the right place. We're going to use the little S2 Ultra because this is the perfect model for testing out features like this. So let's just get straight into it. So the first thing that we need to do is assign a switch that we want to use as the stability mode. Now, all it needs to do is output a signal onto a channel that you don't currently use. Now, if you've already got your standard Rotorflight setup model, then you're going to be using at least 7 of the channels, because likely your aux2 through channel 7 is going to be your bank switch. So in this case, we're going to use channel number 8, which is going to become aux3 on the Rotorflight screen, but we'll look at that later. So it doesn't matter what radio you're using. In this case, we're going to set it up on the Radiomaster TX16S, but on any radio, you just need to output a channel. That's it. So let's look at how we add that channel onto this radio for an example. So on this Radiomaster radio, we're going to select model, and we are going to go up on this second page here, which is inputs. And as I say, this is my standard Rotorflight model. So I already have an input called rescue, and that is set to switch SH, which is the sprung switch on the back. Now, I don't want it to be sprung because we want it to stay in stability mode, so I'm going to assign it to a switch I'm not currently using. I don't use this top right switch here, so we're going to use SD. So to do that, we select source, and I just flick the switch that I want it to be, which is SD, and select it. And then we just got this nice linear curve, so our output is just between -100 and +100. That's all we need to do in the inputs. And then we need to check in our outputs. If you've never set up a channel beyond 7, for example, then you need to scroll to the bottom. So if I click once to the left, we get to the bottom and you click add. Now, as you can see, mine's only adding from 13 because I already have a channel 8. So if we go to my channel 8, we just want to check that it is outputting what we want. So channel 8 source is rescue. So whatever you named your channel, if it doesn't have a name, it will just end up being called SD. But ideally give it a name, call it stability in that input page. We select rescue, and therefore, as you see in the top here, when I flick SD, it manipulates channel 8. And that's all we need on the radio. Right, so the next thing that we need to do, we've still got our transmitter switched on. We're going to grab our Rotorflight controller. As I say, we'll use the S2 Ultra here. Plug that in. You're going to jump into the Rotorflight configurator, hit connect, and we're just going to first check on this status page, which is really useful. We're going to flick that switch that we assigned on whatever radio that you've been using, and our channel 8 is outputting on aux3. You could have also checked this in here. Maybe you can see here, so channel 8 is aux3. Perhaps channel 8 isn't assigned, in which case you need to select it. But most likely it will have been there, and if you weren't actioning it, it now will get action since you've applied something to channel 8. So, we know that the radio is working. How do we activate angle? It's quite simple. We literally just go into modes. As I say, I was initially using rescue, so if you have that there, at the moment we're not going to be using both for the purpose of this video. We're literally just going to have the angle mode set up. Now, there's 2 modes. We've got angle and we've got horizon. Angle will let it get to a particular angle and then just leave it there, and then when you let go of the stick, it'll come back to center. Whereas, as far as I understand, horizon, when you put an input in, it will let you use the input for as long as you want, and it'll let you go as far as you want, but once you let go, it will bring it back. So the most typical mode that you see in other models, if you try like the S2 Max that comes with its own flybar list, that has something that will be more similar to angle, so we're going to use angle. So to set it up, we just need to click add range. We're going to flick our switch, and as you can see at the bottom here, the little red line moves to different positions. So you just need to decide, do you want it to be activated when you move the switch away, or would you like it to activate when you move the switch towards you? I'm going to use away. So that's where I want it to be in stability mode or angle mode. So I now put this little blue range over where that red is. I click save, and now you can see that it highlights in blue, so angle is engaged and angle is disengaged. So that's all that we need to do on modes, and now the last thing we can do is just have a little look in the profiles page, and in there you've got this auto leveling settings. So these will be set to whatever the default value is currently. These are the settings that are in the diff file that you can get from the Rotorflight page with the updated tune for the S2 Ultra. If you haven't put that on, make sure you check out my video about that because it flies way better with the latest tune. Now, all we need to look at here is the angle mode part. So the angle mode maximum angle, which is currently set to 55 degrees. It's quite a lot. That's literally personal preference. Just to really make it extreme, I'm going to back it down to like 30 so we can clearly see it doing its job. And the gain is how aggressively it is going to try and return to center. So I think that's something that you're going to have to play with depending on your model. Default seems to have worked pretty well when I've played with it, but if it feels like it's coming back really hard when you let go of the stick, then maybe just try backing off that gain a little bit. Or if it feels like it's really struggling to actually get itself to be level, then maybe increase that angle mode leveling gain a little bit. Let me know how you get on with it. It's not something I've played with a lot, but this is the only real settings that there are to play with. So we've backed it down to 30 and 40. Now remember, you've got 3 different profiles. I'm only going to mess around with my profile 1. If you want it to be the same on every profile, then just make sure that you apply these settings in all 3. So I'm going to click save there. And that's it. We've got a stability mode. Let's give it a try. Okay, so we're going to give it a test. I've got my radio on, it's disarmed. Plug that in. Let it initialize. And we'll just check that in theory it's working. So I'm just looking at the swash. So this is with stability mode off. And as I put in an input, it goes to the angle and it starts coming back. If I now flick onto stability mode, it's staying to try and bring itself back. So it looks like that's working. Let's give it a try. Okay, so I still got it on the stability mode. So I'm going to click arm and flick out a throttle hold. And we'll see, does it stay level for me? So yeah, I put in an input and it comes back. I put in an input and it comes back. Now it is wandering, so I'm having to hold right there, otherwise it's wandering off to the left. And maybe just a tiny bit of back. So what we need to do is trim out the gyro. So to do that, we go System, Rotorflight 2, and accelerometer trim. Now it was mostly roll, it was starting to just gently roll left and I was holding constantly right input. So to make it roll more to the right, we add trim. If it was rolling to the right and we're holding left, then we'd put left hand negative trim, like that. But we're going to try, initially we'll just try 1 degree to the right. We need to hit disarm and then save. And let's see if that worked. Well, that was a good guess. That's almost perfect now. It still just drifts ever so slightly to the left. So when I let go of the stick, it's wandering slightly to the left and slightly forward. So I'm just going to put in a tiny bit more trim. Again, we jump back to Rotorflight 2. Accelerometer trim. So that did quite a lot with the 1 degree, so I'm going to try 0.2. And since it's moving forward, we want to use a little bit of negative trim on pitch to make it go back. So I'm going to use minus 0.2. Disarm first, hit save. It's very windy, which doesn't help. That's very close. So if you look at my stick, when I put in an input to the right and let go, the helicopter comes back level, left, comes back level. Obviously it continues drifting because it's got momentum, but you can see if I put an input in, it just brings itself back to level. And it won't let itself go beyond that 30 degrees that we talked about. That's it. Now, obviously, we could go further with the trimming. It's not absolutely 100% perfect, so just keep playing with it, make a couple of points at a time until it feels like it sits just completely level, and that'll make it much easier. As I say, it's pretty windy, so it's going to blow itself around, so I'm not going to use today as a time to trim it, but that's the concept. So I hope that's helpful. Let's jump back upstairs. All right, so we're back inside. Now, that angle mode that we have set up, that is something that is on all Rotorflight controllers, and therefore you could use it on any model that you want. So if you've got an RS4 or a 400 class model, or even something bigger, and you want to have some form of stability mode, maybe you're a beginner and you've bought a slightly bigger model and you're just a little bit worried and you want that extra caution, you've got that option there. We use the S2 because it's nice and easy to set it up and film. Now then, I did think about this while I was out there. We could actually set up the horizon mode, the one where instead of limiting it to one angle, it will let it go further, but then when you let go, it still gives you this stability back to center. Since we're using a 3-position switch, we can put the middle switch to be horizon mode, the furthest away switch to be angle, and the one towards you to be your full 3D mode. So I'll just quickly show you how you would do that. So if we plug in the helicopter now, I've still got my transmitter switched on, we jump onto the Rotorflight configurator, we click connect, we go to modes, and where we set up angle, as you can see, so we've got the switch away from us, and it's in angle mode. If we just add range on horizon here, and we set that into this middle switch position, so we can see, as we talked about before, we've got the little red line, then that is no mode, so 3D, horizon, and angle. So if I hit save now, you can see in the middle switch, horizon activates. With it towards me, I've got none of them activated, and in the furthest way, we've got angle. Then you've got the best of all worlds. So why not give it a try like that? Well, that's everything I've got in this video. I hope that was really helpful. It's really cool to see that with such a low-cost flybarless system, we've got all of these options available. We've already got the video about how to set up rescue, which if you're more into your 3D, is probably the most useful mode to you, since you can just fly around and do everything that you need to or want to do, and then you can pull the rescue switch and it will just get the helicopter back in a safe position. But these angle and horizon modes are great if you're trying to learn how to hover and you don't want to risk crashing, even though these small models crash really well. Particularly if you're going to try using this on a bigger model, it just gives you that little extra bit of security. So I think it's great. I hope that was useful for you. Thank you very much for watching. Subscribe if you want more videos like this, and I'll see you soon.